आपण सगळेजण नेहमी जसा क्लास सुरू करतो, वी ऑल विल स्टार्ट विथ 3 ohms and the class opening prayer, everyone. So let's sit with spine erect, sit in any comfortable position, keeping strong spine, relaxed face, relaxed neck, relaxed shoulders, eyes closed. Can relax all your facial muscles by bringing a gentle smile on your face. Let's start chanting Om. Take a deep breath in. Start with exhalation. ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। Open your eyes gently. Okay. So namaste once again, and a very good evening to everyone. So this is our second month where we are having our guest session. Last month we had Gandhar Mandlik and Purnima Tai Mandlik from the Yoga Vidya Gurukul to talk to us. And I'm so glad to have Dr. Anand Nadkarni with us today. And thank you, Doctor, for accepting the invite and coming here to talk to us. So thank you very much. Okay, so most of us, almost everyone knows Sir because of his work in the field of psychiatry, mental well-being and mental health, right? I would still like to briefly introduce him, talking about certain other aspects that probably we all of us may not be aware of, because his work is really voluminous and immense, right? So I would read it out so that I don't miss anything, okay? So Dr. Anand Nadkarni is well known as a founder of this Institute of Psychological Health. It's an NGO based in Thane, Mumbai, where more than 70-80 mental health professionals work under one roof for the cause of mental health and mental well-being for all. So this institution, in addition to giving care to individuals, it also operates a number of support groups, and it also continuously works on educational projects. It also works with a lot of corporates, okay? Apart from Institute of Psychological Health, Doctor is also founder trustee of Muktangan De-Addiction Center in Pune. Doctor has written almost 17 award-winning books in Marathi, and many of them have double-digit editions as well. And recently also, I mean, the last year he worked on so many books, and his I think 3 or 4 books were published recently. He's also working with top industrial houses like Reliance and Siemens, Cipla, and I would like to specifically also talk about a project that he has been working on, which is a flagship project event of IPH, and because of which I was associated with him more, and IPH also. So that project is VED, Vocational Education, Direction and Harmony. So this is a flagship event that IPH has been running for more than 2 decades now. So it is basically a career perspective, which IPH started organizing. It's a conference, or it's a gathering of students who are looking out for career options. So VED is a platform that gives them different out of the box career options that they can choose from, and not only that, but it gives them confidence and the vision and the strength to basically think out of the box. So this conference was started by him 2 decades back, and now I think it has reached almost 9 cities in Maharashtra. So this is about him. He has a very unique kind of um, achievement, I would say, where he is the recipient of 5 state awards in different areas. So that's about Dr. Anand Nadkarni. So I welcome again, Doctor, and so um, how we are going to be doing this is I will be asking questions to him on behalf of all the COHUM members, and we will also keep it open for questions and answers towards the end of the session. Okay, so thank you, Doctor, again, and we'll start.
Yes.
Okay, so when I was introducing you, I was kind of feeling very overwhelmed because of a lot of reasons. First, because I'm very happy that you are here, obviously, and second, looking at all that you have done, and also knowing your schedule, how busy you are through the days, and how you plan your calendar like months ahead, and the kind of work that you have done so far, we at times find ourselves at an awe. Okay, how can one keep working so passionately for so many years for a cause? So we get bored doing the same thing probably just for a day or 15 days, 20 days. And there's a person who is working relentlessly for a cause for so many years. So what has kept you going with the same passion for so many years?
Okay. So thank you, Suchita, for all that kind introduction. And namaskar for all the COHUM Fit members. Also, congratulations, Suchita, for continuing these 2 eventful years of this journey of yours. Sucheta gave us example of our association. It started because of her journey across the desert of Gobi, and she herself is a wonderful example of passion and perseverance. And she is asking me a question today. So we were introduced to each other as she as a VED faculty, and then she became a part of our VED family. And she has co-anchored also with me in Pune VED. So that is how our friendship grew. So our friendship has many angles. So in a way, she's a student. She's my very good friend. She is a colleague. So all those associations are here with us. So that is why it took me no time to accept this invitation to talk with her and through her to talk to all of you. It is only for convenience that we have kept the language today as English, because there are many non-Marathi people around and they should also get the benefit. That's why she suggested that we will have this in English. So we are having it in English. So all the best for all your future endeavors, Sucheta. Now let me come to the question that you asked. Passion, what you call as passion is something that does not die, and that is what is passion, and you yourself have realized it. So what keeps you going is, one, the commitment to your goal, which is the thinking part of it. But also, in my case, my process of last 40 years now, since I entered psychiatry. So journey of last 40 years has been very beautiful. It has been enchanting. And it has given me a wonderful process satisfaction. And I think if you focus on process satisfaction, it's not that I do not keep the outcome in my mind, but I'm never dominated or dictated by outcome. And that is something which has helped me in my personal life, in my professional life. And when you enjoy the process, then quality and longevity, quality of life and longevity of years. So both these things, they coincide. Norman Cousins, who was a great writer and then a researcher, who wrote his famous book in the last century called Anatomy of an Illness, one of the path-breaking books that gave us the relationship between body and mind. So as a medical researcher in his next career means he was first a journalist, then an editor, and then he became a medical researcher. He studied intricately the role of passion and the role of process enjoyment. And there was a music composer and a pianist who was in his 90s, suffering from many physical maladies. And Norman Cousins did a film on him with BBC crew. So this guy is having emphysema, which means congested chest, can't breathe, arthritis, so a lot of physical problems. And he is to be carried, 2-3 people in the morning carry him to his piano. And that piano is his passion. And with very cumbersome movements, very heavy breath, his fingers start moving, and then they start gathering a rhythm. And after an hour, this guy shrugs off his blanket and stands on his own. So this is filmed. So that is what is passion. That it always gives you process enjoyment and process satisfaction. And that makes your journey very enchanting. In your audience just now, I see so many familiar faces. Because as you do know, before a live program, what I do is that I go through all the windows and see the names. So that is what you can do virtually. No? So I can see all the names. And if I start taking one, there are at least 12, 15 in this group that is listening that I know very personally. So passion is like that. And also, what is very important is, if you are innovative, then your passion doesn't die. You work on different dimensions of what you are doing. And thirdly, a very important aspect that has worked with me, which I would share with you, is per unit involvement and per unit productivity. What I mean is that suppose you get 5 minutes. In those 5 minutes, what is going to be your involvement and what is going to be your productivity? Means many times I have written in my OPD, when one patient goes and the second patient comes, so in between 2 minutes, I have written 2 sentences. And those 2 sentences have gone like that. And then I'm again involved in the patient as I was involved in those 2 minutes. So just to give you an example, per unit involvement and per unit productivity, I think that is something that helps you in all this. And we always think about time. We think about I have 30 minutes, I have 60 minutes. We don't think about per unit involvement and per unit productivity. Means time unit. So suppose I have 15 minutes and in 15 minutes per minute involvement and per minute productivity. When I say productivity, it's not always producing something. Suppose you are doing exercise, then your productivity can be defined in another way, right? If you are doing yoga abhyas, then your productivity will be defined in terms of you learning something about your body, something about your mind. So when I say productivity, it involves learning. So that per unit involvement, I think, is a very important thing. And what we do is that there are certain things that we do with per minute involvement and per unit productivity. And there are certain things that we do without it. But if we kind of imbibe a habit that most of my time units I'm going to do with maximum per unit involvement and maximum per unit productivity, even I'm playing, even in my leisure, I am fully involved. So that involvement, and in leisure, what is the productivity? In leisure, the productivity is relaxation. So the definition of productivity changes. So I think that is a very important aspect of sustaining one's mind and body through the years. Sucheta?
Yes. So we understood when you said that passion is something that never dies. So passion is something that's going to stay with you, and that's why it is passion. Now, my next question would be
It is
how,
fashion that comes and goes,
yeah,
and it is passion that
it is
stays.
temporary. Passion stays. So the next question would like to ask is, how do I find my passion? How
Ah,
do I find a purpose? Because
yeah.
most of the times, one feels that, okay, now I know this is my passion. This is something that, I will pursue throughout my life, and just 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, it's gone.
Yeah.
So this purpose, most of us would know or have heard of that word ikigai, that purpose. So how do we find it? Where do we look for it? So where is it? Yeah.
So first of all, it is within. But to find it out, there is no one formula. And we need to understand that. When you give examples of big people who found their passion at a very young age, somebody like Shivaji Maharaj, we should understand that Shivaji Maharaj is a unique example. And we cannot generalize Shivaji Maharaj, nor can we generalize Jnaneshwar. So these are unique examples and we should learn out of them. But these examples are there where there was a innate kind of an inclination to find out that ikigai, or find out what our Upanishads say as Shreyas, or what Bhagavad Gita says as Swadharma. So there are a chosen few who will not find it out. They will discover. They will not have to find out. They will discover. Chosen few are like that. But there are others who have to actually do exploration to find it out. Even great people have done this. Gandhiji has done this. Gandhiji did not find his Shreyas immediately. Almost 30 years of life, he had not found his Swadharma or Ikigai or Shreyas, whatever you call it. That is how he landed in South Africa. Lokmanya Tilak also did consciously explore that what is his life, what is he going to do as a law graduate. And that exploration on one side is very, very individual, and on the other side, it also gets inputs. I mean, in terms of Lokmanya, he had inputs from Agarkar. When both these people, during their postgraduate studies, used to go on chatting together and walking together in midnight. Tilak also had an influence of Professor Kerunana Chhatre. So these are the kind of people who have to explore and then they find it out. So sometimes it's very simple, but sometimes you need exploration. During the Ved, one of the Ved conferences that you mentioned, I was talking to Dr. Abhay Bang, and I asked him how did he find his Swadharma. And his story is very enchanting, that he and his brother Ashok on cycle went in Wardha and sat down and said that there are two sectors in our country that are not given priority. One is health and one is agriculture. So Abhay said that I will work in health, you work in agriculture. And they sorted it out in 2 minutes. Their whole Swadharma, whole Ikigai. And all of us know Abhay Dada, Abhay Bang. But Ashok Dada also in Wardha has been doing for all these years his work in agriculture. So for some people, it's easy because of their conditioning. Now both Abhay Dada and Ashok Dada could make that decision because of their conditioning, because of their parental influence, and so on and so forth. So that is easy for some people. Some people have to explore and then they find out. So that is where person needs to be more alert in exploration. And generally, if you are whimsical about taking something and leaving something, then that exploration doesn't take place. For exploring, you need optimum time which the person has to decide before the person leaves it. And then people can explore. There is if you know Jack London. Jack London was a wonderful story writer from the last century. He had many careers. Why? Albert Ellis, before he found psychology, he had done everything under the sun. So there are some people who keep on exploring. Now, for many people, what is called in our parampara as Vihita Dharma. I mean, there is a career that comes your way. There is a profession that comes your way. So there are some people in whom the Vihita Dharma becomes your Swadharma. It has happened in some people that they took to it and then it became their Ikigai. It became their Shreyas. And please understand that even if you don't find any one of this, I'm not finding my professional Swadharma, I'm very confused about my Vihita Dharma. There is one Dharma of which all of us should be confident about as our Swadharma, and that is called as Manav Dharma. So if you do not find any other Swadharma, follow Manav Dharma. So what is Manav Dharma? Manav Dharma means imbibe the value of interdependence, imbibe the value of mutual respect, and through that mutual learning, imbibe the value of cooperation and taking it to collaboration in your life, in whichever way your life comes to you. And many times, please understand that if you start pursuing Manav Dharma, you are more likely to find your Swadharma. That is a canvas that is open to everybody for exploring. So you have a Swadharma given to you. Given to you means that you discover. Swadharma that is explored. Swadharma that comes out of Vihita Dharma, and Swadharma that comes out of Manav Dharma. Now you have a full plate in front of you. So it's not that it is only one way to get to Swadharma. There are so many ways. And if you focus on Vihita Dharma and Manav Dharma, then it becomes easier for the majority to understand. Because the Shivaji Maharaj and the Jnaneshwars are going to be few in example. So if you take these principles as your guiding points to discover your Swadharma, they could be of help to you. Sucheta?
So for this to happen, that I keep on exploring and I keep on really doing it honestly, we really need to be aware of what is happening within us and what are the responses that we are getting. फक्त तुमचा व्हिडिओ गेला. हां, yeah, you are back. Okay. So we really need to be so much aware, like you use the word alert. So how do I start becoming aware of what is happening within me, and how am I reacting, and how do I know that okay, this is now something I have found, and this is not something this is real. I mean, this is not something that I'm just telling it to myself, and it's not really false hopes that I'm giving to myself. Or so how do I know, and how do I remain aware of it?
That is where psychology comes. And that is where your yoga bhas comes. And that is where Koham Fit comes.
Yes.
So what is the purpose of psychology? The purpose of psychology is this only, no? That to work on your thinking awareness, to work on your emotional awareness. In fact, this is the whole motive of all education. Why psychology? That once you start expanding your thoughts, your emotions, and your behavior, then actually that is the key. So that is why psychology is there. That is why your yoga bhas there. Yoga bhas is there. So what is expansion of thoughts? Expansion of thought comes out of knowledge, not just information, but knowledge. Expansion of thought later on comes out of wisdom. So it is information, knowledge, and wisdom. The difference is that when you are wise, you know how to merge your interests with the interests of others. So that is called wisdom. So that is what expansion of thoughts is. Expansion of emotions is you try to know your own emotions and the emotions of all the people in front of you. So you tend to know how that person must be feeling. You also tend to explore what I am feeling at this point in time. And expansion of behavior is adding newer and newer skills to your acumen. So these three things are important in terms of education. This is the process of education. And the word expansion is very important. As Vinoba used to say, that the definition of education is आवळ्या एवढ्या शून्याचे रूपांतर भोपळ्या एवढ्या शून्यात करणे. So आवळ्या एवढे शून्य ते भोपळ्या एवढे शून्य means you are expanding your thoughts, emotions, and behavior. Now, if you do that, then you are more able to get to your Swadharma. Now, that is why that awareness of your thinking, your emotions, and your behavior, for that all education is there, psychology is there. Yoga Bhas adds another dimension to it, that it also links your bodily awareness to your mind awareness. So all these methods are there, and the methods were there to just find out that alertness. Na? So all this is linked. So at whichever age you are, say, learning yoga, you are learning psychology, and you are learning the true sense, in true sense education, then all these things are going to happen with you in whichever way.
Okay. Um, so say you are talking about the expansion of thoughts and emotions and actions. So uh, what happens at times, it could happen that I'm really honestly very diligently doing the same, and I'm also trying to put in efforts towards my goal or my swadharma that I feel at this point, whatever it is. And there are some results that I'm expecting out of it. And in spite of putting all the efforts and all the hard work, I do not get the expected results. I think now most of us who are present would remember, I always keep saying in the class, focus on the process and practice, don't focus on the pose. So you may or may not get Shirshasana today, but don't focus on getting Shirshasana, focus on what is going to lead you to Shirshasana. So focus on practice. But now what happens is, I really practice hard, I put in all the efforts, do everything that I can 100%. I'm still struggling to get the desired results. So in spite of efforts, I am not able to get there. How do I deal with it?
No, because then what you said is very correct. And I also remember what you told me one day. One of those days in your Gobi's desert journey, that when there were blisters in your legs and the shoes were, pinching you, and all that, and तो हत्या उलट्याने तुला धडक मारली. हा, तुम्हाला सगळं अगदी लक्षात आहे. So see, you continued na. So what is very important is कि it's not that we don't want results. पण म्हणजे आता आपण एक साधं उदाहरण घेऊ. लेट्स टेक अ व्हेरी स्मॉल एक्झाम्पल. समबडी कम्स टू कोहमफेड saying that I want to lose weight. Let's take a very genuine general example. Huh? And I want to lose weight, and I'm doing everything that you are doing. And my thyroid is okay, my diabetes is okay, सगळं okay आहे. I'm been following all your diet, wonderful. And then I'm doing all your yogas, and I'm the first one to log in and the last one to leave. आता असं म्हणायचं या काळामध्ये. So पहिल्यांदा येतो शेवटी जातो. So I'm doing all this, and it's 2 months, and it's 3 months, and it's 4 months, आणि तो काटा हलतच नाही अजून तिकडून. So then what do I do? So then my point is, in that case, that okay, forget that kata, continue to do. Then you change your goal, na? Then you say that my goal now is not to reduce my weight, but to feel healthy. उतरेल ते उतरेल, नाही उतरलं तर at least my immunity will improve. So then I have to change my goal. So what I want to tell you, then the outcome I need to change, and outcome should be then closely linked with my process. म्हणजे पूर्वीचा माझा आउटकम होता की नाही, की 6 महिन्यामध्ये साधारण 5 किलो तरी कमी झालं पाहिजे, आणि आता 6 महिन्यामध्ये 1 किलो कमी झालं. So then you take out your focus from those kgs to your feeling of fitness. Now do you see something? You are bringing your goal closer to your process. You are bringing your goal from a material goal. Material म्हणजे मोजता येणारा 5 किलो कमी होणं.
Quantifiable.
Quantifiable goal to a goal which is more emotional goal. At least that much you can do, no? But what happens that we link so much to the quantifiable goal, and then what happens? All our bodies are very different. So some bodies react, some bodies don't react. So then it's fine. No? It's me and the uniqueness of my body. So let me redefine my goal, taking into consideration my uniqueness. That is uniqueness of my body, uniqueness of my system, uniqueness of my constitution. हे लक्षात घेऊन मी करेन ना मग. So if I do that, then I am likely to be perseverant. But otherwise काय होतं? I am not getting results ना. तर my involvement in the process starts going down.
Or
आणि मग
probably at times we start the trust in the process starts diminishing.
अगदीच. आणि मग काय होतं? तुझ्या योगाभ्यासाची कवायत होते. So then it becomes physical training. And you know how greatly involved we were in our school days physical training. Fantastically non-involved. So that, you know, 4, 3, 2, prakar badal. Puna 1, 2, 3, 4. According to our age groups, the focus of our concentration used to go somewhere else. So तसं ते होऊन जातं मग. So that is something that I need to keep in mind, especially with the crowd that, your team that is now here. They should look at whatever they are doing in Cohom Fit as a wonderful experience. And whatever results that they get is a payoff. A wonderful experience and त्याचा तो payoff आहे. जेव्हा यायचं तेव्हा येईल. Let me work on the wonderful experience, isn't it? So that is something. And see, the more you start discovering this now, you start becoming involved and regular. There are so many people who are regular, but they are not involved, you know. म्हणजे कसे असे मारून मुटकून योगाला आणतात लोक काही. आणि त्यांना त्यांचे डॉक्टर पाठवतात, घरचे पाठवतात, बरं का. आणि देन दे से की सकाळी उठायचं पासून सुरुवात होते. दॅट आय हॅव टू वेक अप इन द मॉर्निंग. अरे बापरे, संध्याकाळची बॅच नाही का आवडत. So people start negotiating and bargaining from that point. Then I wake up in the morning at 5 o'clock. Now the people don't have to travel. Previously, people, pre-COVID times, people had to travel. And then people have to still wake up and get up, right? And at that time, you see most of your family members who are blissfully asleep. And when you see them, आपल्याला करावं लागते, हे कसे झोपलेत. So the whole chain starts, you know, and you go to the yoga class with that. So the asana that you are most likely to enjoy is Shavasana or Sukhasana. कारण तिकडे काहीच करायचं नसतं. And otherwise you convert the rest into a PT. So that
पीडासन.
पीडासन. वा. बाकी सगळी पीडासन. एकच सुखासन, बाकी सगळी पीडासन. So I think this is one message you want me to give to all your people. And that is why very diplomatically you asked me this question. So I have given you the answer that you wanted.
ऍक्च्युली ते सोनाराने कान टोचले तसं आहे. बिकॉज हे एवढ्या वेळेला असं सांगून झालेलं आहे. पण and I'm glad that they are hearing it from you today. Okay. But just going in line with this, taking it further. Now, even if I start bringing myself and I start getting my focus onto my practice, and I say that, you know, I will focus more on the emotional gain rather than losing what I want to lose, what I want to gain. I want to get strength, I want to get balance and flexibility, whatever.
All right.
But then comparison kicks in. There's peer pressure, then there's comparison. He is able to do it, she is able to do it. We had just started, I had started before her. You know, and my intellect tells that no, I should not be comparing because I'm unique. My body is unique. Okay, but then my emotions, they take over, and then they tell me that no, you're not, either the process is wrong or you're not trying hard. And then I put myself into stress because I start feeling that, you know, something is going wrong somewhere. So how do I get rid of that comparison?
Kathina, get rid is very difficult, because our mind by its very nature wants to compare. And you see that comparison everywhere. That COVID infection rate in Maharashtra versus Delhi. So everywhere there is comparison. Vaccination here, vaccination there. So everywhere there is comparison. And that's why that uniqueness wala concept hai na, wo bahut acha hai. But what is, somebody says, Mandar says, with Zoom yoga sessions, comparison factor has reduced. Mandar,
That's
nice.
because that's because Mandar, you don't get to hear from 200 people. I get to hear it from 200. So I
बरोबर. आणि people na, Sucheta, by this time must have formed their own secret WhatsApp groups where they must be comparing. I am very, very sure. त्याच्यामुळे ती कंपॅरिझन अशी नाही तर तशी चालू राहते. सो माय पॉइंट इज की comparison is human. Let's not completely challenge that. What we say is ki when I am comparing with somebody, and generally when the problem starts, that when that person is doing better than me, na, when I am doing better than that person, तर आपल्याला बरं वाटतं उलट, चलो I'll do it more. आपला प्रॉब्लेम केव्हा येतो की when in comparison I am on a lower side. Okay, so what is the feeling that I get? I get a feeling of inferiority. बरोबर आहे. Now, when I get a feeling of inferiority, where do I stick that feeling? I stick that entire feeling to my entire self. की अरे 6 महिने तुम्ही बरोबर ऍडमिशन घेतली होती. लुक ॲट दॅट पर्सन हाऊ ग्रेटली इज डुईंग. नाही तर तू. सो दॅट नाही तर तू मीन्स दॅट यू आर अ इन्फिरियर ऍज अ पर्सन. करेक्ट. नाव I'll say that okay, असं होऊ दे इथपर्यंत. Let it happen like this. Okay. Then the only switch that we have to make is, rather than calling myself as an inferior or incompetent person, what is my relative incompetency vis-a-vis that person? बघा मी काय म्हणतो. First be with the feeling of inferior person. And then ask yourself a question that what is my relative incompetency? म्हणजे तो 5 मिनिटं शीर्षासन करतो, मी करूच शकत नाही, whatever. And okay, this is a relative incompetency, correct? Now, what has he done to gain that expertise? Now what I am doing, I am trying to study that person's technique, that person's style, that person's commitment, that person's process enjoyment. And what happens the moment learning starts, comparison vanishes. So very important point is to look at it as learning. And what can I learn from that? The moment the learning, see what happens when the learning starts, the focus gets from person to performance. Correct. And then when I start analyzing performance, I tend to explore what are the things that I'm learning from him. याचं शरीर इतकं छान का, अमुक का, ढमुक का. Then I say की आता मी ते करायचा प्रयत्न करतो. Let me see how much and how far I can do it. Now, having said that, there will be a limit to my competence and somebody else's competence. Means when I see Sucheta your videos, then the most of us will be thinking की काय सॉलिड करते. पण तिथे आम्ही काय करतो, तिथे why don't we compare? Because we know that this is beyond comparison. Then what do? We appreciate. हो की नाही? मग हे किती महत्वाचं आहे की appreciate करा. So something that you are not able to do, it's very important to appreciate. Sometimes the learning can start through your appreciation also. म्हणजे मी म्हणतो मग की अरे सुचेताला तिकडे फारच सॉलिड जमतं. सुचेता एवढं मला जमणार नाही, पण निदान मला काय जमेल ते. म्हणजे आज ज्ञानेश्वर हॅज सेड की राजहंस कसा चालतो, पण म्हणून काय तुम्ही आम्ही चालायचं नाही असं नाही. राजहंस तो राजहंस असू दे त्याला त्याच्या घरी. तसे असू दे सुचेताला. सो ही फार महत्वाची गोष्ट त्याच्यामधली असणार की एका बाजूने आपल्याला अप्रिशिएट पण करता आलं पाहिजे. मग लर्निंग चालू होतं, मग कम्पॅरिझन जात. म्हणून ना अप्रिशिएट करायला लक्षपूर्वक अप्रिशिएट करायला पाहिजे. मीन्स व्हॉट आय नीड टू डू इज, हा सुचेता, शी इज सो वंडरफुल, फॉर हर ना दिस इज हर सेकंड नेचर, सो शी इज डुईंग इट. हे झालं, मग आम्ही थांबलो तिकडे, राईट. Because here also I am focusing on Sucheta as a person, not her performance. Mug suppose I start focusing on her performance, I may not go to the level of say black belt 7 degree. पण कुठला तो व्हाईट ऑरेंज आधीचा कुठला बेल्ट असेल तो तर मिळेल ना मला. तो माझ्या माझ्या प्रकारे मला मिळाला, ठीक झालं. And then what happens is through appreciation learning starts. So that is a very interesting point. So from inferiority also learning can start. From appreciation also learning can start. But when learning starts, comparison goes. That is a very important point. आता लोक काय करतात त्याच्यातली गंमत सांग. They learn to defeat some other person. Means there is that learning is again a very conditional learning. मला त्याच्यापेक्षा चांगलं करायचं. Because then you become very active, but you become very active just to defeat that person. That is something which is a conditional learning. Okay, granted ki first you will start conditional learning, but from conditional learning you should graduate yourself to unconditional learning. त्यामुळे म्हणजेच काय की सपोज I raise my bar and I raise my bar and I come to on par. मात्र सोडून नाही द्यायचं. कंडिशनल लर्निंग इज व्हॉट, की आता याला हरवलं ना, आता आलं मज्जा. सो दॅट शुड नॉट हॅपन. सो फ्रॉम कंडिशनल लर्निंग वी नीड टू गो अप टू अनकंडिशनल लर्निंग. सुचेता?
So since we are talking about this, I think this comparison, does it, okay. Yeah, I was just going to ask the same question, Neha. That this comparison, does it basically come from that that think that I'm rather probably not putting in enough effort, so I have the guilt, and that guilt could be guilt could be a result of so many things that have happened so far in my life. So how do I get over that feeling? That comparison could be happening because of a lot of other things.
Yes, yes.
And second question, just to add to the same, is the comparison specifically in the context of fitness, weight loss, okay, is it also coming because we are associating ourselves too much with our bodies, and we are not really going beyond the bodies? We are only thinking that, you know, this skin and the flesh and the bones, that is myself. We are not able to go beyond that.
I think both your points are extremely relevant. That we come to fitness. Koham Fit is a good name. That through physical fitness, I need to go towards self-discovery. And that is why Koham. So it's very implicit in your title that it's not only the body and the flesh and the skin, but I should use what I'm doing as a medium of self-discovery. And that is something that if people start doing, I think that laziness or putting less efforts or sometimes postponing, or sometimes people are like that 4 weeks किया तो अभी ना 2 weeks का break लेते हैं, and then they go on a permanent break, right? So these kind of things come essentially because we are looking at it from a very limited perspective. And I totally agree with you on that. That when you join any kind of fitness activity, body is only a starting point. And from body, it has to be a medium of your total self-discovery of Atma Shodh, discovering yourself kind of a journey in your own way. We are not saying be a Rishi, or we are not saying be a sage. We are saying just link your bodily exercises to your total personality development. That is what we are saying. So if you have that kind of a motive, then I think the guilt will be much less. See what happens when people, Neha's question, when people put in less efforts intentionally. Intentionally म्हणजे जास्ती करून काय करायचे? So they put less effort, then they feel guilty कि अरे वो टाइम पे ज्यादा effort क्यों नहीं लगाया? So my point is that when you feel guilty, you are blaming whom? You are blaming your entire self. So what happens is that you can say that rather than blaming my entire self, I will only focus on the mistake which I committed. Take the responsibility of that mistake, correct it and go ahead. Kashala distraction पाहिजे तिकडे. But our mind creates these distractions, and that takes us away from the process itself. I'll tell you, this is an ancient problem. There was this Rishi called Grutsmad. His name was Grutsmad. So he was from the Vedic era. So he is the person who is supposed to have started spinning. Means so spinning चा जनक विणणं त्याने सुरू केलं Grutsmadaने. And another point that Grutsmad discovered was Gunakar. So multiplication is something that he invented. So he has a prarthana, he has a prayer. And what is his prarthana while weaving, that when weaving, the dhaga will get torn. Madhe madhe tantu tutel, na? So his rhythm will get disturbed. So he says that once my rhythm gets disturbed, help me to focus my mind on, mend it and go ahead. ही प्रार्थना आहे त्याची, की मला कशाला मदत कर, की परत धागा जोडू दे आणि माझं विणणं पुढे चालू राहू दे. बट द पॉइंट इज की तो धागा तुटला, आत्ताच तुटायला पाहिजे होता, कशाला तुटला, माझाच तुटतो. So then you convert a distraction into a diversion. And I think that is a very important lesson to learn, which also shows that how notorious our mind is from the Vedic times or even before that. की सगळ्यांना डिस्ट्रॅक्शनचं डायव्हर्जन करण्याची सवय आहे. Therefore, we need to consciously work on distraction happens, diversion. मध्ये नाही न्यायचं त्याला. I don't want to take it into diversion. Let distraction happen. I'll correct it, go ahead. Correct it, go ahead. Suppose I got very relaxed, 7 days, 15 days, I did not do, माझं काय वजन वाढलं, ठीक आहे, I'll correct it, go back. गुरुस्मदाची प्रार्थना, माझं विणण्याचं काम चालू ठेव, धागा धागा वस्त्र विणू दे, राईट. पण डिस्ट्रॅक्शन होणार, जोडेन, परत जाईल. So I think that attitude is a very important attitude in that guilt wala business. Yes, Sucheta?
Yes. So we were talking about guilt. So these are the kind of, this is a kind of baggage. So we carry such baggages with us within our brain, within our, I mean, I don't know how much of this baggage our entire body will be occupying the space with this baggage. So yoga, if we have to think of yoga, it is a discipline. It is anushasana, as they say, and it is the anushasana of the chitta. So your mind, so yoga does not really talk about the body, but it is the anushasana of your mind and intellect and ego along with the body. And we also understand that these aspects are so interlinked. You cannot really say that it is separate. So when you start working on the body, you are simultaneously working on all of these, or other way also. And the point that we all most of the times understand is that the body is maintaining the score. It keeps the score of all the thoughts and emotional currents that are going on inside us. And we also understand that the body is at times suffering because of this, because of our certain limiting patterns or agraha ज्याला आपण म्हणतो ना, हट्ट, अट्टाहास, आग्रह, demands. We understand that the body is suffering, कळतं पण वळत नाही, and we are just not able to release this emotional baggage or get rid of these troubling emotions or overthinking. So how to release this baggage?
When they are becoming too overbearing, that is actually the time to take mental health help. And as you know, I have been working with a lot of yoga teachers. I've been, and we at IPH, we have been actually training yoga teachers in counseling skills also. Because when people come to yoga teachers, the stigma does not operate. The stigma operates when they have to meet a psychologist. The stigma operates when they have to meet a psychiatrist. But yoga teacher, no stigma. That is why one of the endeavors that we have been doing very consistently, especially with our Gantali Mitra Mandal that is in Thane, is how to give basic counseling skills to yoga teachers, so that they can be frontline counselors for many of the mental health distresses. So distress can be handled much better with all these people. So in fact, now they are advocating that in this yoga graduation and all those courses, they should have counseling skills training and all those kind of trainings. So that is one aspect which is very important, that people do get in baggage. And what happens is that suppose a person is referred to you by a cardiologist or by a physician, इसको diabetes है, इसको blood pressure है, और उसको yoga सिखाओ. Now there is always this emotional angle to the blood pressure and the diabetes that people have. So two aspects can happen, that yoga shikshaks work on their own counseling skills. And number two, they have a kind of networking. Wherever the psychological counseling is required, you can make it a part of your setup only. So that is the kind of thing which requires actually, because the spirit of yoga is the integration. And actually we are talking about psychology, but yoga integrates your physical health, your psychological health, and touches onto the spirituality also. And it is not touches, it is actually an integral part of your entire cycle. And there are certain points of exploration during the yogic practices which are very important in terms of your spiritual awakening also. That is what the scriptures say. I'll give you an example. You do Kumbhaka. So in Kumbhaka, what you do, that you take the breath inside, and then before you exhale, there is that movement where there is no inhalation, there is no exhalation. Now, why this Kumbhaka was designed? This Kumbhaka was designed because that can be your state of pure being. That is a state, or that is a movement where your cognition and your emotions are not active. So realize Kumbhaka and be aware of that movement of Kumbhaka. But again, what happens, Sucheta, is most yoga teachers and most yoga practitioners will focus on lengthening the duration of Kumbhaka. It's not the length of Kumbhaka is important. It's the awareness in the movement of Kumbhaka that is important. This is just to give you an example from the yogic practices. Small example. So these are the kind of things that our traditions speak about. And they actually merge your physical health, your psychological health, and your spiritual health together through small things, small pellets of self-discovery. And then you need not know what is the spiritual meaning of that. Okay, whether it is Atman, it is Brahman, forget it. It is at least a state where your pure being is there and you are in that moment beyond cognition, finished. So if we realize only this much through yoga practices, your Anulom Vilom, your most of the pranayam practices, people do it as a exercise. People do not focus on the sensory inputs of your breathing and how your senses they work while you are breathing. I mean, if you go towards the Buddhist meditation, the Anapana, that part is actually looking at your breath. So our pranayam, their Anapana is very, very similar. So everybody tells you what, look at the sensations, look at the perceptions, look at the process. So it could be as a basic process as your breathing, but discover your being through the breathing. And what is very important is that all of us are in the process of becoming every day. So we are in the process of becoming ना काहीतरी व्हायचं असतं काहीतरी घडायचं असतं. So becomingचा process आपला आहे. Actually, this 1 hour of yoga abhyas or 1 hour of your exercise is one process that tells you that some part of your day, give it to your being. So otherwise, 23 hours becoming. At least 1 hour being. So that 1 hour of being can actually eliminate your 23 hours of becoming. So that is what our tradition tells us, which we need to understand while we are learning. And generally, people come for physical fitness, which is also okay. But as you go along, you need to discover as to what is the specialities of this process. And if you discover that, then your process becomes more and more learning, more and more enchanting. Sucheta?
Yes. I think all of us would have remembered Turiya that we were talking about. I was talking about while explaining that pause at the end of the ma, how you should just be in the pause. Don't try to lengthen the pause or don't even try to force the pause. We're just going to, we were trying to do, and we were trying to identify and observe the pause. So that is exactly what he explained about Kumbhak very nicely. So,
And since you are talking about Turiyavastha, see,
uh,
that is how the Omkar needs to be interpreted. That whenever you are O, Hum, Ma, three parts, as they say, Upanishads also say that one is for the Jagruta Avastha, the second is for the Nidra Avastha, the third is for the Sushupti, and the fourth is Turiya Avastha. So if you want to represent all the four avasthas, then Omkar is a representative. So if Omkar is a representative, then as you said, after your Ma elongates, then the Ma is not there audibly, but the Ma is there. So that is the unseen Ma. So this is very important aspect of this practice. And therefore, what is Turiyavastha? Turiyavastha is nothing but being. That is a movement of being. And what our entire Vedic the yogic philosophy says that the movement of being is very important to catch. And very important to catch for what? For nothing, just to catch. कारण आपल्याला सवय आहे फॉर म्हणायची. लगेच आपण फॉर म्हणतो की हे केल्याने काय होईल. तर म्हणून लोक म्हणतात ध्यान आय डू मेडिटेशन. बट फॉर व्हॉट? Meditation is for not anything as a gain. Meditation is only a process. And if you believe in the process, you start gaining. But if you look for gain, then you increase your pain. So that is something which needs to be understood by all of us when we are doing all these practices. Yeah.
So you just ended the answer with what for. Okay, so we tend to tend to ask this question very often, because we are always in search of a reason. Since we are also talking about Turiya, they say that all is Maya, the world is Maya, and Sharir Nashwar Ahe, and this is not real. So, so what for? Everything that we are doing anyway. What is the purpose? Why are we struggling so much? If everything is unreal and it's not, it's a myth, it's Maya, then what for? What is the reason?
Now, I will not, I will refrain myself from giving a philosophical answer, which I can give, but I will not give it right away to this audience. I'll give a simpler answer. What is the definition of Maya? Hmm? The definition of Maya is that if you go to the real Vedanta philosophy, Maya is an attribute that Brahman takes when it wants to become manifest. Brahman is unmanifest. It takes an attribute called Maya to become unmanifest. That is what the theory says, Vedanta theory says. The moment it takes the attributes, it becomes Vyakta. From Avyakta, it becomes Vyakta. For the process to be Vyakta, it will require systems. And the systems themselves are called as Ishvara. So Ishvara Vedanta Pramane म्हणजे या systems आहेत. So the point is that when Vyakta starts, dynamism starts. Therefore, Maya, the attribute, becomes an attribute for dynamism. And what is dynamic? The dynamic, as Buddhist philosophy says, anitya. So we should not take Maya as myth. We should take Maya as anitya, satat parivartaniya. So when you take Maya as myth, then you say, "Acha, ma reality ka hai?" Vedanta doesn't tell us that relative reality does not exist. It gives you a viewpoint to look at relative reality. It only says that there is absolute reality and there is a relative reality. And when you stay in this relative reality, if you have the awareness of the absolute, your life in this relative reality becomes much healthier and happier. So please understand that Maya is not myth. And here the Buddhic philosophy says that anitya is very important, and it doesn't say what is nitya. Because Buddha says that you realize everything is anitya. Because Buddha is a cognitive psychologist. So he says everything is anitya, and first realize that. Therefore, Buddha is a good starting point. Many times when you go to Vedanta, this Vyakta, Avyakta, Brahman, this kind of proposition that Vedanta has, it becomes difficult to understand. So in day-to-day life, what I have to understand? That my day-to-day life is parivartaniya. It is anitya, which means I have to do my best every moment. Isn't it? So interpret it this way. Vedanta is very energetic. Vedanta doesn't tell you to live life. It tells you how to lead life. So if everything is anitya, then asं nahi hai. Because everything is anitya, I need to put my best in every moment. So that is what is a, otherwise कर्मयोग कशाला सांगितलं असतो? सगळं माया आहे, मग कशाला राहता इकडं? So the point is that Nivrutti-vada is again interpreted poorly by many people, not by the sages. They have interpreted it very well, but people don't understand because people do not study. So the Nivrutti-vada is not Nivrutti from life, but it is the Nivrutti from craving of life. ही गोष्ट फार महत्वाची आहे. So pravrutti means centripetal, nivrutti means centrifugal. So nivrutti is centrifugal. You have two types of forces, centripetal and centrifugal. So pravrutti makes you self-centered. Nivrutti makes you Vishwa-kendrit, finally, universe-centric. And Brahman is nothing but the ultimate universe-centric experience. So everything has this logic. If you understand and apply that model, I'm not saying this is the only model to be applied. You need not believe in Vedanta, that's fine. You believe only in body and mind interaction and body and mind integration, that's fine. You only believe in cognitive psychology, fine. But what is very important is that the anitya part, which means parivartaniya part, is very important. And it is, life is dynamic. ह्याच्याबद्दल तर कोणाचं हे नाही. मग तुम्ही त्याला नश्वर म्हणा, ते काय फक्त माणूस नश्वर आहे का? सगळंच युनिवर्स इज चेंजिंग. व्हॉट एव्हर इज व्यक्त इज गोइंग टू बी अव्यक्त. So that does not mean that I refrain from generating meaning in my life. So that is a very important point. And if you look at that, it is not the individual karma, but it is the individual karma that creates a collective karma. This part, the collective karma part, has been also echoed by people like Adler, people like Jung, who are the psychologists. And it's very logical that it's your all actions, individual actions, collective actions, they have an impact. That impact is called civilization. So what is very important is not using that Maya as an excuse, because it was never given as an excuse. But our mind is so cunning that we want to have a kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy and use words for it and take those words from our ancient wisdom. So I think it's better that we take out that. People who are more interested in learning more about this, they can go to our Avahan IPH, and on our Avahan IPH, there is a 23-part series given by me. It is called Vedanta Vichar and Vyaktitva Vikas. So it's a 23-part, 30 minutes, one episode. So you can go there. I have tried to integrate the modern psychology, neurosciences, evolution, and Vedanta philosophy. So that you can see. There is a book on this topic that I have written that is about to come in next 2 months or so. It is called Mana Maitricha Desha, but it is going to, it is saying the same things that I am putting in front of you now.
Okay. So the reason behind asking this question was because most of the people who are lazy in putting in exercise, they give me this reason ki sharir nashwar aaye, so why should I be working on my body?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's the reason why I asked this question. So most of you who have attended the Patanjali Yoga Sutras workshop, also you will be able to relate Maya and Brahman with Prakriti and Purusha. It's just the differences about duality there and duality not present here, and even avidya that we learned, that associating or taking anything that is anitya as nitya, ashuchi as shuchi, and anatman as atman is avidya, which is the cause of sorrow. And also, as he explained, anitya, like even if we associate ourselves with body too much, which is again not nitya, that is where we start creating confusion within ourselves about the goals that our body is not able to meet. So even that's something that we can relate to, because this is also going to keep on changing always. Every moment the cells are regenerating, so it is always changing. Yeah.
And see, here in our Yoga Bhas or Patanjali or Vedanta philosophy, there is a Bhuman, that is the Jivatma, then there is Atman and there is Brahman. So when you start saying that taking Anitya as Nitya, what you create, Buddha says, then you create Trishna. Trishna is craving. And once you create Trishna, in Vedanta terms, you become more and more baddha in your jiva. So everything Trishna, according to Buddha, is the craving, is the basic cause of all dukkha. So all is interrelated. See, this is what is our Eastern point of view. Whether it is Buddha or Vedanta, they are siblings. I mean, so there could be points of differences, but ultimately what they are saying is discover yourself through your body, through your actions, through your thoughts, through your emotions. That is what they are saying. Modern psychology doesn't say anything else. It also says the same.
So there's one question that has come, which says, will it create stress to give best in each moment?
If you think of outcome, yes. The more you think of outcome, you will create more stress for you and for others. So what is very important is that whenever you are giving your best, you are giving quality to the process. There is a friend of mine who is writing a book, and she sent me the copy of her book, and she was editing it and she wanted me to read it. So she said, for 4 hours I was editing her own script to send it to me for reading, because she had told me that she will send it to me. And she said, 5 hours I was working. Nantar माझ्या लक्षात आलं की my back is paining, but I did not know how those 4-5 hours went. Okay, so am I obsessed with this book? So I said, if you are involved and drown yourself in excellence, then it is not obsession. The moment you think about outcome, then obsession starts. So what is very important is that for you and me, leaving the outcome may not be possible. Okay, because most of the things that we do during our daily life, we actually have some intended outcome. Correct? There have to be at least some activities in our daily life where we do not look at outcome. Very simple. So if you have at least some activities where you do not look for outcome, those will balance you and will not take your outcome thinking to a level of a demand. But otherwise, your outcome thinking will take you to a level of demand. And when that demand is fulfilled, it will create craving, Trishna, more. If the demand is not fulfilled, still it will create craving, Trishna. So that is something that we need to understand, that at least some activity should be there. I'm not saying, no, we are not sages. We are staying in this relative reality where there are going to be expectations to and fro. बरोबर आहे? पण काहीतरी असं ठेवा की ज्याच्यामध्ये ते एक्सपेक्टेशन असणार. So if we are able to do that, it is good for our health.
Yes. I think we will also open this for question answer for last 10-15 minutes. Okay, before that, I'll read out a question that has come, and that says, what is your opinion about the hypothesis that reality is basically a consistent story created by the brain in response to the stimulus? Yeah, we talked about it already.
पण ती जी स्टोरी आहे ना, ते फार इंटरेस्टिंग आहे. Actually, that is what the story is created by our conditionings, our beliefs, our needs and wants. And then we start believing that story to be reality. So the entire Buddhist philosophy is based on this, that realize what is the story, who writes the script, and what is the reality. So in Mahayana Buddhism also, looking at things just as they are. So looking at things just as they are, that is one kind of exercise that they do. So looking at things without your previous learnings, without your prejudices, without your conclusions. So once you start looking at things that as they are, you also start looking at yourself as you are. That is how the meditative technique works. So there is a wonderful meditative technique that says that look at things the way things are. So then what you do is you slowly start realizing and start dissociating yourself from making that story. Story making is a habit with us. आपण सगळे सलीम जावेद आहोत. वी आर पटकथा लेखक आहोत आपण सगळे. आणि आपण जोरदार स्क्रिप्ट लिहित असतो आणि सगळ्या हिट असतात. सो कारण आपणच ऑडियन्स असतो ना. त्यामुळे त्यामुळे इट्स व्हेरी 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 इम्पॉर्टंट to come out of that story business, and that's why this is a good question.
Another question that has come from Sanjana: what should become the basis of our career, our passion, or our educational qualification?
आता educational qualification is a relative reality that you cannot escape. Correct. So educational qualification always has been a starting point for most people. There are some great people ना, Bill Gates. बिल गेट्सला एज्युकेशनल क्वालिफिकेशन काय होतं? नव्हतं. आला ना बिल गेट, पण सगळे बिल गेट नसतात ना. सो देअरफॉर some aspects of the relative reality you cannot really overcome. Some people who overcome it, but they are brilliant, they are geniuses. But for most people, the qualification also comes along. So how to place that qualification is something that is very important. How to place it, which means that you will place your passion above it, with it, below it. That is something that that person has to decide. So you have seen people who have done wonderfully well in a area where their educational qualification was not there. Means you have seen now so many people who are engineers and who are working. See, you yourself, you are from language, then you are in IT, then you are in journalism, now you are in yoga. But you have learned everything from all these aspects, which you are actually putting into what you are doing just now. Na? So that is a very important aspect that one should not say, look at educational qualification from a viewpoint. हा डॉक्टर आहे याने डॉक्टरच केलं पाहिजे, हा इंजिनियर याने इंजिनिअरिंग. ते दिवस गेले आता. Whatever you have learned conceptually, how principally you can put it in your area of passion is a very, very important aspect. आता कसं असतं, there are some aspects where the professions like doctor, they are service oriented. म्हणजे डॉक्टर आहे तर त्याने सर्व्हिस दिली पाहिजे. हो, दिली पाहिजे, बाय अँड लार्ज दिली पाहिजे. But there could be one guy like आमचा Dr. Abhishek Sen, who would, after MBBS in Nair Hospital, would go to IIT, do engineering, and then he would integrate his medicine and his engineering into a medical equipment company. So, you will have people like that. So that is something which is going to happen much more in today's world. That how you are going to link your passion with your education. You may choose a very different field. There is one more question which has come now. कोणीतरी म्हणताय बाबा क्युरियस, काय तो प्रश्न?
दोन प्रश्न आहेत इथे. I'll just take the first one. Is it true that diseases and discomforts come or begin in the mind, spirit, and manifest in the body? If this is a possibility, how to get aware of what is happening within and work on it?
Sure. See, our entire being suffers. So when we say a physical disorder, what we mean is that it is a predominantly physical disorder. Okay. When we say psychological disorder, what we mean is it is predominantly a psychological disorder. And when both the elements are considerable, we call it psychosomatic. There is a body element and there is a mind element. So every element will have always the contribution will be different. I mean, the percentage will be different. The dominance will be different. But combination, yes, everywhere. And that's why total health. And along with body and mind, it's also the environment. It's the social, cultural factors. It's the economic factors. It's the climate factors, the environmental factors, the pollution factors. Everything is health. So therefore, we need to be very holistic at looking at health. So that is something which is, I think, a very important aspect. For example, suppose I'm getting high cholesterol, I should look at my lifestyle also. I should look at how I spend my leisure also. I have to look at everything, no? It's my mind, it's my body, it's my relationships, it's my lifestyle, it's the environment in which I live, including the pollution levels. That is actually medicine. So the way medicine also, modern medicine also now looks at things very, very holistically than before. And therefore, whatever is the element, think of all the possible factors. And if you think of all the possible factors, then your corrective process will also involve many factors and not one factor.
So this is a common question that I'm going to ask, that we keep on hearing from most who are trying to follow a diet. And that question is, how do I control and stick to my diet when the others in my family are eating other stuff? And I know that that is not healthy or good for me. For now, yes, for now.
See,
how do I control that?
How do I control when other people are eating? Threaten other people. So they would not dare to order it in your presence. So, but what is very important is that yes, sometimes these diets and for our health, we have to follow certain restrictions. How we look at that restrictions is very important. And if we look at that restrictions in a little more constructive way, I'm not saying positive, I'm refraining that word positive nowadays, so bilkuli. So let us call it constructive. That what is a constructive way of looking at some of the things that I have to follow? Then I will say that in the long run, this is going to help me. And then suppose they are eating something, I am eating something. Can I not focus on the experience of eating what I am eating? Can I not enrich that experience? So suppose I am eating salad, okay? Baki sagde pizza khate, or burger khate, right? Now I have wonderful ways of making my salad tasty, right? I can relish or at least learn to relish the experience of eating my salad. बरोबर, म्हणजे मी खातोय आपला बका झाडपाला आणि त्याच्या गुलाबजामकडे किंवा कशाकडे तरी बघतोय. सो दॅट इज नॉट गोइंग टू हेल्प माय प्रोसेस. बरोबर. सो हाऊ कन्स्ट्रक्टिव्हली आय लुक ॲट रिस्ट्रेंट्स इज अ व्हेरी व्हेरी इम्पॉर्टंट ऍस्पेक्ट. त्यामुळे तो जर आपण लक्षात ठेवला तरी कठीण आहे सिच्युएशन, आय अंडरस्टँड. आपलं मन गडबडीचं आहे, पण त्याला अगदीच काही नाही ठेवता येणार असं नाही. जर सॅलड किती छान छान करता येईल ते बघावं ना जरा, त्याच्यामध्ये चव कशी आणता येईल ते बघावं ना जरा. त्याच्यातही व्हेज नॉनव्हेज कोणाला आवड असेल तर कसं कॉम्बिनेशन करता येईल ते बघावं जरा. सो देर आर क्रिएटिव्ह अल्टरनेटिव्ह. व्हॉट आय मीन टू से that there are creative alternatives to make your experience better. Use those alternatives whenever you are facing restraints and constraints. Prasad is asking, is it necessary to seek purpose? Why can't we live as life offers us, as life has no purpose? Prasad, याच्यामध्ये असं आहे की when I get life, I get life full of possibilities. And as life is full of possibilities, those possibilities are not only in the environment that is outside me, those possibilities exist within me also. What are these possibilities? These possibilities are to live my life happily, productively, meaningful. Now, these possibilities lie within everyone. So the point is the process, I mean, the purpose of life comes with life and within life. Is there a separate purpose of life? There is no separate purpose. The moment that zygote is formed, भूबीज आणि स्त्री बीजाचं मिलन होऊन, and the journey starts, the infant comes in this life with these possibilities. So actually, the purpose of life is given. It's only something that needs to be discovered. Because if purpose of life was not there, then life would not have been. So life and purpose of life are not two different things. And therefore, if the purpose of life comes within life, when I start breathing, when I start as an infant ना हातपाय हलवायला सुरुवात करतो, त्यावेळेला there is a potential in each one of us to lead this life happily, productively, meaningfully. त्याची हे बदलतील, त्याच्या डेफिनिशन काय क्वांटिफिकेशन ते सगळं बदलेल. But that comes with life. So it is only the discovery, it's nothing new. Purpose of life is not something that comes from outside आणि मग आम्ही त्याला पकडतो आणि घेतो. It is there in all human beings. फक्त आम्ही त्याला आकार देतो त्या पर्पज ऑफ लाईफ. हे आपण जेव्हा लक्षात घेऊ आणि I'll give an example which gives me a lot of courage, hope, inspiration. I'm working with a girl who is now 23 and she is having cerebral palsy. So why I'm giving that example? Because she is completely limited to a wheelchair. She cannot talk. The whole body is, very debilitated way. 14-15 years back, with her parents, we started one organization called Swayam. It is there in our Thane city. Because those were parents who said, "Ki आता आम्ही आमच्या मुलीसाठी काय करू? We have to give her occupational therapy, this therapy, that therapy." So फिरावं लागतं खूप. So why not start? So all parents came together and we started. This girl, Shreya, तिचं नाव, I have been talking to her, communicating to her for all last 15 years. And when we started this work, this girl found a purpose. तिला आम्ही आमची मॅनेजिंग ट्रस्टी म्हणतो. And believe me, in all our meetings, she participates. For almost first 6-7 years, I used to feel की नीता तिची आई आहे, तर ती तिच्याशी बोलते आणि ती करते. And I used to feel that Neeta is telling me what Shreya feels as only Neeta's words. मला वाटतं नीताच बोलते, हिला कुठे बोलता येते. Last 5 or 6 years, I do not know how it has happened. She talks and I understand. And then I talk and she understands. Now, isn't that wonderful? So if that girl can also find the meaning of life, she is a positive force for the parents and such children around her. Hasn't she found a purpose in her life? So it's only a matter of discovery. And for that, you require medias. So for Shreya, through her parents, through this Swayam and everything, she got that expression. So there are some people who get expression of their meaningfulness. There are some people who are in dark and don't find that expression. But that expression is an integral part of our being. So that is something that we need to understand.
Okay, I'll take the last question that has come. It has been sent only to me. So it's about young children, where most of the parents are experiencing that the kids lack inner motivation to do things, and especially the last year, the whole of the last year in pandemic, when they were just not allowed to, and they could not go out to play, and that development, how, what happens to their development now, since they are not able to go to the school, not able to interact with friends, and so they are experiencing that the motivation level is going low, attention span is low and low. So how do we deal with this?
First of all, let us all candidly accept that there is a universal setback in child and adolescent development. This is a universal setback. So we have to accept that, because unless we accept, we won't go ahead in forming the remedies. And different groups of children and adolescents have suffered in different ways. Correct? So is there a way by which you can come out unscathed out of this reality? I don't think so. So there have been casualties in the sense there have been harms, in child development, maybe in socialization, maybe in learning, in creativity, in relationships. We'll have to start actually a universal healing process. And that universal healing is going to be a need of the hour. Everybody who is working in the field of education, society, health, mental health, so many disciplines will have to have a mammoth universal healing exercise. Without that, these kind of things are not going to get tackled. So in that universal exercise, there are going to be people in education, say child psychology, who have to work with children, adolescents, their parents to find out strategies, how to minimize. There have been certain good things that have happened now for children and adolescents during this time. How to take maximum benefit of that. And this has happened not only with children and adolescents, it has happened with every conceivable strata of the society and every conceivable age group. No? So then we will have to find out our own focal points. Me as a parent, then I will focus on my children. Me as a teacher, then I will focus on my uh, school children. You as a yoga instructor, you will focus on your families which you are dealing with. And then we will have to find out models to recoup from the aftermaths of this endemic. Social deprivation has happened. How to measure, that's a measurement तयार करायला लागेल. How in the future to come, how are we going to have a remedial kind of a socialization exercise for people? What has it taught us about the process of socialization? हे सगळं आपल्याला बघायला लागणार आहे. So don't go on the face value. We will all have to go to the root cause analysis of a multiple layers. And therefore I call it a universal healing exercise. Because scientists will have to come, they will have to evaluate, त्याच्यातून आपल्याला नवीन रियालिटी मिळेल, त्याच्यातून स्ट्रॅटेजीज मिळतील. So it's going to be a whole new learning for us. And in our own way, we need to participate in this exercise. Nobody is going to invite us. Yeah, be a part of this universal healing exercise. You are hereby invited. असं कोणी म्हणणार नाही आपल्याला. आपल्याला सेल्फ इन्व्हिटेशन घेऊन आपल्याला या healing exercise मध्ये यावं लागणार आहे. I have been working physically also for all these days from last April till now. I've been doing my OPDs, I've been talking to people, and I've been doing my OPDs physically in all these time. So I'm meeting people face to face. I'm seeing the tragedies. And most of my time, which is on screen, I have devoted to talking to people. So this must be my 300 plus webinar in this 1.5 years. So I must have reached logically lakhs of people. So all this has to be a healing exercise by all of us in whichever way we can. And if we do that, then only we are going to get strategies. And please understand, there are no ready-made answers. We will have to struggle, we will have to find out, which all of us are doing. Means sometimes, like for last couple of months, every day I am talking to people who have lost their near ones. Every day I am doing that. Every day I'm trying to support people like that. So you see, this is a stark reality, but we can't sit idle. This may be an invitation to find the meaning of life. So, so sometimes it is your help to create meaning of life with the other person gives you a meaning of life. So this is going to be reality, and since your platform consists of all these thinking people, sensitive people, we need to give our contribution to this universal healing process.
Okay, I think we can end our session for today with this note. And while answering one of the questions, Doctor, you mentioned that the purpose of life is within life, and it's not two things basically. It's just one thing, and that also reminds me of one of the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali that tells us that Prayatna Shaithilya Ananta Samapatti, where your effort, when whatever you are doing, whatever you are pursuing, when you start doing it effortlessly, then you start finding your focus. Ananta Samapatti, focus towards infinite. But we also need to understand the other part of it, that without really understanding efforts, we will not be able to understand effortlessness. So first the efforts and then the effortlessness. And the next part of the sutra, the next sutra tells us, Tato Dvandva Abhigataha, means there the Dvandva, the duality vanishes. And that is when we would probably understand that the purpose of life is exactly, it is within life, because we are so much focused on the duality and we think that it is something external to me and I need to do something very, very extra special efforts, and that because of those efforts we are also creating stress, and then we are thinking that, oh, I'm not able to find, that person has already found the purpose, and now what am I going to do with my life? So that effortlessness, understanding that the purpose of life is within a life, I think it's a great takeaway. And I think this session has definitely been helpful to us um, in understanding how do we deal with what is in store for us. We don't know what is in store for us in future, but definitely this thought of starting this universal healing process and contributing in it without really waiting for a formal invitation is a great thought that we all can take away with us from this session. So thank you again for coming and blessing us here. So to end the session, as usual, we will chant our last prayer, closing prayer, and then we'll end it. ॐ सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः, सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। Thank you everyone for being here, and thank you, Doctor, once again. Thanks.
Thanks. nice session.